Look, Sonny, we were set up. The deal was an ambush. Harry and Lee were dead.
You better be kidding me, Tommy! Tell me you still got the money!
No, Sonny. I don't have the money.
That was my money, Tommy! My money!
But, you know, this isn't gonna be a beer and strippers do. I mean, no offense, but I think that you might turn heads on the runway for the wrong reason.
What's wrong with the way I'm dressed?
Okay, look, here. Stop by Raphael's. Tell him I sent you. He'll make you look respectable.
Sit down. Helps people forget.
People will remember soon enough. When they see him walking down the streets of their neighborhoods, it will be bad for business.
Hello, Sonny.
Tommy! Tommy, it's been too long.
Grand Theft Auto 3 was a redefining game for 3D sandbox games, RPG games, and games in general. It shows, with Grand Theft Auto 3 receiving critical acclaim and praise, particularly with its concept and gameplay. It became the best-selling game of 2001 and was the second most-selling game in 2002, only being second by Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Rockstar began to develop Grand Theft Auto Vice City in late 2001, around the time of Grand Theft Auto 3's release. After the release of the Windows version of GTA 3, the development team discussed creating a mission pack for the game that would add new weapons, vehicles, and missions. And upon further discussion, the team decided to make this concept a standalone game, which became GTA Vice City. And in October 2002, we got the long-awaited sequel to GTA 3 with Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Although I must appear to mourn his passing and carry on with business as usual.
This isn't getting me any closer to my money.
Tommy, my friend, you are not in Liberty now. Here, we do things differently.
Vice City looks stunning with color everywhere you turn. This game always looks colorful with the beautiful sun in the day and neon buildings at night. There's nothing like driving past the beautiful neon signs in Vice City. And this really gets you in the world of Vice City, and I love the 80s color palette. And it's a major upgrade from GTA 3 because as much as I love GTA 3 City, it's very dark and gloomy and has very dark and muddy color palettes. The character models look great, especially for the PlayStation 2. The cars, buildings, and civilians all look good. A little dated now, but I personally like the retro polygon style, so I have no problems with it specifically. The cutscenes in this game are good. I like how whatever weather you're in during the mission, the weather still shows up in the cutscenes. It's not a set weather for the cutscenes like other games have been. I think I don't like though is how some characters talk. Not the voice acting, but the lines specifically. Some lines just feel inhuman and don't fit the characters. The voice acting though is spectacular, with everyone doing their part and having our first speaking protagonist in the GTA franchise, with Ray Liotta doing Tommy Vercetti's voice splendidly. The animations for the characters are pretty good and give the characters more personality. Let's talk about the city in this game. Vice City is a very different city from other GTA entries. Most other GTA cities like Los Santos or in Liberty City have more terrain and more of an international look, but Vice City is completely different with a flatter city and a lot more color from other entries. Vice City is based off Miami, Florida. Vice City was in the original GTA, but it wasn't in it to this extent and had a lot less detail back then as well. The developers at Rockstar said that they chose Vice City as a setting of this game because the team wanted to choose a location that had various similarities and differences to Liberty City, but with that same dark edge underneath all of it. And Miami was the perfect match because it's a party town with a lot of sun and a lot of sea. The main areas we get to explore are Vice City Beach with a mall and golf course, and it's pretty neat and a great island to start off in. But as you progress through the story, you unlock more of the area to explore, like the Vice City mainland, with downtown and more stuff to explore. The atmosphere in the city in this game is great. It made me and many others feel like we were in the 80s, which is a great feat. The 80s neon sign, the lighted Miami beach, and even the cursive text made you feel like you were in the 80s, and none of the other GTA games captivated me the same way when it came to atmosphere like this one has. The soundtrack in this game is really good, and it's probably my favorite soundtrack of all the GTA games. Like in between missions, I would literally drive around the city and just jam to the music. That's how good it really is. And since playing this game, I've been listening to more 80s music, showing how good of a job Rockstar did on the soundtrack. The radio stations are here as well and are really good and funny with some great conversations. Overall, the presentation in this game is spectacular and might be the best in the GTA franchise.
I trusted you, Tommy. I would have had you made. Say goodnight, Mr. Diaz.
Let's get this out of the way. First, the camera in this game isn't good. You can't move the camera, so the camera just does whatever it wants, whenever it wants to. Series like God of War can have the player not move the camera and get away with it because the camera has some kind of use. Like in God of War, its use is to see everything, the background and the enemies in front and behind you. But here, it doesn't give us any use, so it kinda sucks and it makes gameplay suffer with it. The shooting in this game is okay. It's an improvement from GTA 3, but still desperately needs polishing. It mostly suffers from the camera being as bad as it is, and the aiming sucks, but overall it's bearable at best, but unplayable at worst. You get different kinds of guns throughout the game, so whatever gun you have, it will change your playstyle. Speaking of weapons, Vice City surpasses GTA 3 in weapons without a doubt. In GTA 3 you only had 13 weapons, but in Vice City you have 35. There are a wide array of new pistols, shotguns, and submachine guns for you and your arsenal. You also have new melee weapons, so you can get close and personal with your opponents. The mission design is good enough, but very repetitive. You have to do something for your crime boss, like steal a boat or kill the competition. The missions start off easy with you only killing one person or driving to a place, but as the game goes on, the training rules are off and you'll be killing lots of people to get to a destination or run from a 6-star police wanted level, and it's very difficult but enthralling at the same time. I also like how you can do the missions how you want to for the most part, and have a lot more freedom in the missions. In GTA 3 you have to do the missions exactly as the game wants you to, and that makes the missions have nothing really exciting about them. But in Vice City you have a lot more freedom to do the missions the way you want to, which I definitely like and was a great improvement. Another thing I like is the fact that you can now buy property, which is pretty cool and shows how you overtake the city. You buy property so you can get that portion of the business's money, but before you can get the business you have to do a mission like selling cocaine without getting caught or putting cars in garages. These missions take a while to complete and are pretty hard, which is fine because you don't just buy the business outright, you earn it by doing these missions. You can also now buy safe houses for you to get safe access points, garages, and even helicopters. You can also now get a taxi to drive to your mission if you fail the mission the first time, which is a great feature and saves you so much time. And stuff like that show how much this game improved from Grand Theft Auto 3. The police in this game is very similar to GTA 3's police, but they're less aggressive with lower stars. But in GTA 3, if you even had 1 star, the police will be gunning for you till you're dead. But here you're fine until you get like 3 stars. The driving in this game is a big step up from GTA 3. For one, you have about 100 vehicles in this game compared to the 56 in GTA 3. There are also new vehicles in this game like helicopters, motorbikes, and cars. Speaking of cars, the driving controls in this game are serviceable at best. The driving controls are very janky and I saw myself crashing more than I'd like to, and I like to think that a portion of that was from the controls. The boat controls are abomination, which sucks because a couple of the missions revolve around the boat, and the boat is the only way to go on water since the protagonist still can't swim. In GTA 3, it wasn't a big deal that the character couldn't swim since there wasn't too much water in the city, but here it's a big deal because Vice City has a lot of water, and it would be a simple but a welcome change to be able to swim in the game. The helicopter controls the best in my opinion. The controls are really fair, so when you crash you know it's no fault but your own. Overall, the controls here are okay but need some improvements. I got to say that the missions in this game are pretty difficult. Not as difficult as GTA 3 because you have more freedom, weapons, and vehicles, but this game is still pretty hard and I was struggling on some missions like Death Row and Guardian Angel, and it took me multiple ways of trial and error to finish the missions. I also like how money really matters in this game. In GTA 3 and in some later titles, money is just there to be there, but here money really does matter and you have to be strategic on how you use your money or you'll have none when you need it the most. I love the progression you go through in this game, from a gangster nobody to a king by the end. At the start of the game you can't even buy a pistol until a couple missions in, but by the end of the game you can afford every gun in the shop without breaking a sweat, showing the amazing progression in this game. You had progression in GTA 3 but it wasn't to this degree. The gameplay in Vice City is definitely not the best and I think is second to presentation, world design, and atmosphere, which is fine in my opinion because the good aspects of this game are really good and kind of mask the faulty gameplay.
But wait, could you keep an eye on Mercedes for me?
I think she could look after herself, but sure, I'll keep an eye out.
Gracias, amigo. Hasta luego.
Adios, amigo.
In 1986, Tommy Vercetti, a loyal and former member of the Forelli family, is released from prison in Liberty City. Tommy's former boss, Sonny Forelli, fears that his presence will heighten tensions between the other Liberty City families and bring unwanted attention to his own organization. So he promotes Tommy and sends him to Vice City to act as the Forelli buyer for a series of cocaine. Tommy then finds a sweet deal, and just before they settle the deal on the drugs, the group are ambushed by several armed and masked men who kill Victor and Tommy's bodyguards. Tommy narrowly escapes with Ken from the docks, losing the Forelli's money and the cocaine in the process. After Ken returns to his office, Tommy drives back to the hotel and informs Sonny, promising him under the threat of consequences to get back the drugs and the money and kill whoever was responsible for the ambush. Seeking information, Ken points him towards Joan Garcia Cortez, the man who organized the deal that went wrong. Expressing regret for the matter, Cortez promises to help Tommy find out who masterminded the ambush while introducing him to his daughter Mercedes, who becomes Tony's confidant shortly after. In the process of finding leads, Tommy gets a right-hand man named Lance Vance, who is a friend of Tommy's for a while, but gets more and more bitter as the game goes on. As time passes, Tommy also meets with a drug baron named Ricardo Diaz, who is impressed with his skills after he protects him during a deal with a group of Cubans by killing a gang of Hiltons that ambush it, and thus hires him to help him with his own agenda. After Tommy kills Cortez's Lieutenant Gonzalez, who has partially held responsible for the ambush on Tommy's cocaine deal, Cortez voices his suspicion that Diaz might have been behind the ambush. Tommy decides to continue the status quo with Diaz until he can prepare for an attack, but his hand is forced when Lance attempts to take revenge by himself and fails. Upon rescuing him from a junkyard, Tommy and Lance quickly raid Diaz's mansion and execute Diaz. With Diaz dead and Cortez forced to leave the city after stealing French military property, the established drug empires in Vice City soon begin to quickly crumble, allowing Tommy and Lance to personally take over and become Vice City's drug kingpins. In the process, as Tommy becomes more powerful and rich, he soon begins to suspect Lance is up to something. Eventually, Sonny soon discovers that Tommy has gained complete control over Vice City's drug trade, but without sending a single dime back to the Forelli family. Enraged that Tommy has become independent and is hustling him, Sonny sends high-ranking Forelli members to forcibly collect money out of Tommy's assets. Tommy quickly disposes of them and soon decides to sever his ties with the Forelli family, but Sonny reveals that he felt his business would have been taken over by Tommy 15 years ago, so he was set up 15 years ago when he was sent to prison. Lance then exposes Tommy's attempted deception, revealing himself as a traitor after admitting to have informed Sonny about Tommy's activities in Vice City. Lance explains that he did it because Tommy started to disown him and was not treating him equally, and so he wanted him dead, so he could rebuild the Vance crime family and the fortune that he had with his brother. Angered at this betrayal, Tommy starts a gunfight in which he chases and ridicules Lance before killing him for his treachery. Heading through his estate, the gunfight eventually accumulates in Sonny's death, allowing Tommy to establish himself as the undisputed crime kingpin of Vice City. The story here is great. It's simple and easy to understand, but has so much lore and mystery. Tommy Vercetti is probably the best protagonist in GTA history, with his cocky and charismatic attitude and his iconic Hawaiian shirt, and the incredible voice acting makes for a great and iconic character and really fits the 80s theme that they were going for. The side characters are also great and a huge improvement from GTA 3. In GTA 3, the side characters had no personality really, and they would just be there to advance the story or give you a mission. Rarely would you have a conversation with them, and if you did, the conversation would end abruptly. But in Vice City, you have multiple cutscenes for the characters to develop and for you to either like or dislike the characters. All the characters have their own quirks and personalities, and they feel like real characters from the 80s. The world changes as you take more and more of the city and the story, and I felt kinda bad that my total domination of Vice City meant squeezing out everyone else in that process. But in Vice City, it's always business first. The story here is really engaging, the plot setup is great, and the ending is bittersweet as well. Overall, the story is great with big plot setups, pacing, twists and turns at every corner, and great characters like Lance Vance, Ken, and Tommy Vercetti.
After all, you're a conniving, backstabbing, two-bit thief, and I'm a convicted psychotic killer and drug dealer.
I know. Ain't it just beautiful?
Vice City raised the bar for video games with its soundtrack, graphics, and sheer passion that went into the game. Why me and many others love Vice City is because there was a clear passion that went into the game. It's clearly there because if it wasn't, Vice City would have just been a mission pack for GTA 3 like it was supposed to be. But the developers at Rockstar had this passion to make a bigger and better game from GTA 3. Thus, Vice City was born. And you can tell the passion is there with the amount of detail and improvements that Vice City has, with only a couple months of development time. With GTA GTA 3 lacked was soul. GTA 3 is a great foundation. It certainly had its charm, but it felt so hollow compared to Vice City on the other hand, which felt alive and does more than enough to differentiate itself from GTA 3, and is one of, if not the best GTA game. Vice City is one of a kind game, and I'm sure we'll never see another game like it. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in and watching my video up to the end. As always, I appreciate it. These videos take a while to make, so it always warms my heart with all the comments I see, and I just appreciate all of it. Thank you guys, thank you for the support, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video took a while, and I really did enjoy making it, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, if you have any more other suggestions for games I should review, tell me. If you have any feedback, tell me. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this Vice City review, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.